going on, y'all? I'm really behind on a lot of Hassan stuff, but I do want to catch up and see what the heck is going on. Let's check out this video from Rev. See what's happening within the Hasan Piker universe.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rev here. So today we're going to be once again talking about Hasan Piker. We have talked about this man many times on this channel before for an infinite number of reasons. But what we're focusing on in this video is not only something that shows how much of a performative activist this guy is, but it highlights a very disturbing trip that he's been taking in Cuba alongside other performative activists. And what we're going to see should anger you to the core. And if anybody is still falling for this guy's nonsense, there's no helping you at this point. So right now, Hasan is a part of a convoy going over to Cuba to provide humanitarian efforts. Now, during this trip, there's already been a nationwide blackout.
I already know. See, before you even got to that, the premise I already knew was bullcrap. This dude Hasan, come on, bro. He's giving us content.
In Cuba, affecting over 99+% of its citizens. But don't worry, the dwindling amount of power that has been made available is all rerouted to who else but people like Hasan Piker and these other activists who are staying in 5-star hotels that never lost their power and also have armed security to make sure the locals do not mess with their trip to Cuba. But on top of that, because of the lack of power, Cubans are literally dying in hospitals while Hasan Piker sits in a lavish hotel and enjoys.
So he's pretty much an elite. Like I've been saying this whole time. Wow. Pretending that, I'm one of you guys. I'm not one of the higher ups. I'm with y'all. How is this different from him in America? If he was really a socialist, he would give up his mansion or just allow a bunch of homeless people to come in there and sleep. But no, he does not do that. He said, this Cuba trip really is like Get Out. That's crazy. That's crazy.
These concerts performed by the same convoy he is a part of. Again, I can't think of a more truthful and disturbing metaphor for the performative activism people like Hasan Piker are taking a part of right now. So what is this entire convoy? Well, it is called Nuestra America, and it is in parts due to a collaboration with a group called Code Pink, who is doing many great things like painting murals for Cubans that will save clearly countless lives. But on top of that, when Hasan landed in Cuba just 2 days ago, he just so happened to run into the co-founder of this group called Jody Evans, who just happens to be married to a man worth nearly $1 billion and is also tied to the Chinese Communist Party. Surely this was all a coincidence. But before we get into Hasan's activities during his streams while staying in Cuba, let's get a drip check on Hasan. When he landed, he made sure to show off his fanciest outfits. Now keep in mind, the average monthly income of a Cuban is around the equivalent of $15 US. Hasan rolled up in...
I was going to say, I'm not really a fashionista, so I don't necessarily know. Is this a fancy outfit? Me? I'm on my, jean shorts with the comic book or the anime shirt on or hoodie. Chilling. I'm not spending hundreds of dollars on an outfit. That sounds crazy. In fact, I kind of dress like Kevin Smith. I've been noticing that in my later years. It's comfortable. I mean, the jean shorts might be army fatigue too sometimes. Anyway, don't judge me. You judge me. I could just tell. I like being comfortable, bro. Hoodies, shorts. That's it. You spent how much? $700? That's crazy. The shirt cost $700? For what? For what? Give me $700. I'll make like 30 of those, and I don't even make clothes. That's crazy. 100 of those. So get my whole wardrobe. Like, that's pretty much my whole wardrobe for that much.
That shirt you can see right there, this button down alone costing around 690 US dollars, which could feed a family of four in Cuba for about 1 full year. What about his glasses? His glasses alone costing around 1,400 US dollars, which, yeah, would take around 9 years for the average Cuban to afford. Now, this is very ironic coming from Hasan Make the Rich Pay Piker. We all know that
he is the rich. That's facts.
He is very performative. But once he actually launched his streams, of course, complaining about the connectivity issues, you can see even when he went live, things were not going well. It was a PowerPoint presentation. It was glitching out, as you can see. But once things stabilized, what did Hasan do? Well, he complained some more. In fact, he began by racially profiling Cubans.
Cubans? Fucking best people. Not in Miami? Oh, dude, it's the reversal. Actually, literally, like, exact opposite. Like, all the good Cubans stayed here. And most of the ones that are crazy just, like, flew up there. I swear to God.
Whoa.
I had a really funny experience with
that. Yo, that's racist as hell. But imagine saying that, yeah, the good black people are over here. All the bad ones are over there. He's racist as hell. Do we even need to finish this before a nasty song get played? Like, I should have started this off with a nasty song. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, yeah. You know your name.
Crazy. And what is up with the internet?
It's like,
I thought
we get
my
in the
shit
car.
was messed up. His internet looked crazy.
We get into Uber last night. Marsh and I are about to discuss that we're gonna be on Cuba, like talking about plans, right? And I was like, March, don't say anything. Because I noticed that the dude in the car was a Miami Cuban. I was like, don't. Like, I literally went, don't say anything. And then I just asked him. I was like, where are you from? And he's like, oh, Cuba. And I was like, okay. He said, Donald Trump needs to finish the job. That's what he said. That was the first guy. And this is like, I guess this was March's first real interaction with like a Miami Cuban.
Yeah, feel free to explain to me how this is anything short of racial profiling. Yeah. Hasan Piker here, and his very progressive,
and I ain't quick to throw the racist card out there. That was pretty racist.
Nature is looking at Cubans, and he's saying, here's what makes a Cuban good, and here's what makes a Cuban bad. In Hasan's eyes, if you stay with the regime and you remain in Cuba, you're one of the good ones. But if you leave, and especially if you go to the United States and support, let's say, Donald Trump or anything that Hasan does not like or agree with politically, you are a bad Cuban. That is an insane thing for anyone to say, but it's insane for Hasan to say, especially given the fact he's literally sitting in Cuba as he's saying this in a 5-star hotel. And people are very quick to point out how insane this is. As someone who knows liberal and progressive Cubans who have escaped, this stuff makes my blood boil. The US's sanctions must end, but what right does Hasan have to pass judgments on an entire ethnicity to which he doesn't belong? Why do y'all let him say this? Well, because he is on the right side of history, according to many people, and he can say whatever he wants. Hasan separating ethnicities into pools of good versus bad is something he's been doing for a very long time, okay? He decides who is acceptable and who is not, especially when it comes to other ethnicities. He's been doing this for a very long time, but now it's...
So he's been pretty much being racist for a long... That's crazy. And then it's the same person who will use whatever race that he's talking about to go after people. He'll use whatever race as like a weapon. But then, God forbid, he actually like respect them and not be racist himself. pretty nasty.
in people's faces, and
Yeah, like get out. You know, I'm saying it in the chat. 100%. He's on his get out flow.
they're saying, whoa, wait a minute, that's insane. But the reality is he's been doing this for a very long time. Now, of course, Hasan overstaying his welcome really ties into the entire trip, right? He's staying in 5-star luxury hotels. But here's an example of other missions that have gone to Cuba where the team is sleeping on the floor or in community centers, or they're doing some sort of a co-op living in the houses of natural-born Cubans and citizens. So what does Hasan do? Well, of course, he stays in a 5-star hotel. And of course, he's being challenged on this. And I think rightfully so. Even his own audience is saying, hey, Hasan, what's up with this? Why are you staying in 5-star luxury hotels while you're doing this? But Hasan immediately blames America because of course he would. And he says the American government made it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. But listen to his words, because what Hasan is telling you right now is an outright lie.
I was saying, tourism is the lifeline for the Cuban economy as it stands currently. The government has very limited resources. And the American government
I said Upchurch dropped with a new record. I'm going to check that out for sure.
makes it illegal
Yeah, no, I rock with Upchurch.
for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. They have to stay in what they've declared as 5-star hotels, right? I'm telling you all this because, like, even the 5-star hotels are not like,
that's true.
you know, it's not like it's what the American government has declared 5-star hotels. But regardless, in comparison to the situation on the island, it's prosperity pretty much. And experiencing that dichotomy is like definitely f- me up. Definitely. Like if I were to ever, I mean, not ever, but like I hope to come back. And when I do, I'll probably not abide by the American restrictions.
You crazy.
So yeah, to clarify here, Hasan is saying it's all the American government's fault, and he doesn't really care, right? He's just going to do what he wants to.
Right. If that's the case, then get your ass out that 5-star hotel and go sleep in these streets. What you talking about? You can, right? That's what you type of time you gonna be on. Nah, he's frauding, bro. He's blaming America. He wanted to go to a 5-star hotel. He's wearing a $700 shirt. He walking around like he the Rock in the 2000s when he was doing WWE. There's gonna be a few people that get that reference. $1 million shirt. But that's crazy.
Do in Cuba, stay where he wants to stay because he's just going to do whatever he wants and America's at fault here. No big deal. Yeah. But if you see any clip like this on Twitter, you'll notice there is a community note. And once again, say what you want about Elon Musk, but his purchase of Twitter, now X, and the revamping of the community note system is one of the best things that's ever happened to this platform because it provides critical context in moments like this. You can see the note. It says, U.S. sanctions on Cuba restrict U.S. citizens from lodging in accommodation owned by the Cuban government or connected figures. There are no limits on the quality. The U.S. government lists prohibited lodgings. And what did you know? Thanks to the public messages by the related convoys, we know that the hotel that Hasan is staying at, or almost certainly is staying at, is listed in this prohibited accommodations list that is provided by the United States Department of State. Okay, this is not a game. This is not a joke.
Wow, bro. Yo, what is wrong with Hasan? He's crazy.
This is a very serious thing. Hasan, who complains about all these things, is violating sanctions, okay, to stay at the luxury hotel he wants to. And by the way, if this is all lining up the way it appears, he could be breaking the law. Very well might be breaking the law, which could be prison time.
That's what it sounds.
At the very least, very hefty fines. So this guy is playing with fire. And what he's claiming, as verified here, is false. He is lying. about how this all works, hoping his own audience is stupid enough to not look into this for themselves. He is, by all appearances, going to a 5-star luxury hotel that is benefiting the regime. That is the reason these sanctions are in place. So if this is all lining up the way it is, or at least it appears, he is violating these sanctions that are upheld by the United States government. That's a big deal. You can see Legal Mindset weighing in here saying, glad this BS has been called out. Not only is there no restriction on quality of a hotel, but Hasan could have legally done a homestay, Casa Particular, with an actual Cuban family. Of course, that'd be far too rough for the champagne socialist. There's absolutely no chance this guy would reduce himself to living amongst commoners while
crazy. That's supposed to be a socialist. Oh man, I hate people like this, right? That just be pretending, grifting. Like Hasan Piker is no different from a Dr. Umar. They're the same. One and the same. They might be best friends, actually. It's crazy. Hey, what's up, Grish? How you doing?
he's over there doing a propaganda tour from his 5-star luxury hotel. But as we pointed out earlier, a lot of the missions going over to Cuba, I mean, they're sleeping on the floor. They are doing homestays. They are sleeping at churches or anything they can possibly find. They're not sitting in luxury hotels. This whole thing stinks, ladies and gentlemen, but that should be obvious from people like Hasan. Now, there's a lot more to this, right? Because Hasan is not only doing this very questionable set of actions in terms of where he's staying, but he's also engaging with the local community. Well, in very interesting ways.
Not having any bandwidth whatsoever. I have no idea what's going on. Like last night, we ended the broadcast and I went and linked up with the Progressive International boys. I met Jeremy Corbyn. That was fantastic. And I hung out with the Kneecap boys. We went out and drank at like a local establishment. Boys? And we have been,
I don't know who the hell that is, but that don't sound pleasant. He said, wait, hold on. Did I mishear him? Who is that? What? They're a rap group or something? How did they get that name? Wow, okay. Maybe protesting? I've never heard of these people. That's a wow name, though. The heck? How did they get that name?
Like we've just been living La Vida Loca. Honestly, we've just been living life, living large. And, you know.
You said they're podcasters? Yeah, I've never heard. No. Is the podcast called Kneecap Boys? That's what it sounded like he said. Am I mishearing him? I'm going to put podcast. Trump and see. Are these the same people? Yeah, nah, I don't know. I never heard of them.
Just peppering people with just wads of cash for the most part, with hopes that, you know, there's like a little bit of economic respite for each individual Cuban that we encounter.
I can't even begin to tell you how hilarious this clip is for so many reasons. Number one, Hasan is trying so desperately to act like he's just, you know, one of the people, right? He's there with his fellow socialists, you know, he's yupping it up with the locals, he's fitting in, despite the fact I've seen dozens upon dozens of tweets from Cuban nationals saying, we don't want you here, please stay away from us. But Hasan, in his attempt to bolster Cubans who are being affected by the shortcomings of the regime, is doing his best champagne socialist effort here. he's trying to fix the shortcomings of socialism by throwing money at them, by literally throwing the fruits of capitalism at them, right? His own ventures, his own wealth that he's procured through capitalism, he's throwing it at these locals who are living under socialism to provide them a little bit of relief. The irony is so unbelievable. I cannot believe anyone with a level of sentience would take this guy seriously, given how hypocritical and just almost parody level his behavior is in Cuba and generally for that matter. But you also noticed during that clip, he mentioned the fact that he was hanging out with the boys from Kneecap, which is a band over here that was performing some classic messages during their concert over the last day or so, you know, spreading the message of free Cuba, F Trump, and F Netanyahu. They're apparently Irish rappers. And after listening to this clip,
yeah, those are the people I just found when I looked it up. So those are the same people. He was hanging out with this. How did they get the name Kneecap? What does that mean? Like, I don't even want to guess. Never mind.
can describe in terms of their quality, it's like an auditory torture. Like, I'm pretty sure the people over at Guantanamo are taking notes and are going to be playing this music during their interrogations because it's just really that insufferable. But this comes at a weird time. So these concerts and all of these events are happening while there's a massive blackout in Cuba, a nationwide blackout where over 99% of the population there is without power. And most disturbing about all this is the fact that Kneecap seems to be admitting that they're part of the blackout, that all the power being directed over to them, the tourists over here, the people involved in the humanitarian efforts, it seems to be causing or contributing to the blackout. And the remaining power seems to be with the convoy over here. And this is where it gets very, very disturbing because part of the blackout has affected many hospitals.
Wait, you said you knew a girl in high school that had the same nickname? That's crazy. I think we all knew that same girl. I think we all knew her. Crazy. Yes. That's crazy. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like, how did they get that name? That's not a name that was, sound good. But when I heard those nicknames be, put on someone.
And what do you think happens when hospitals are without power? Well, people pass away. As pointed out here by one of the people on the ground over at Cuba.
He said she left us all itchy, not me. I still was protected at all times, nigga. Never played that. Ever since they scared us in health class with a picture of a waffle that was blue. Even though that's not real. Like, schools was showing us this. This is crazy. And terrified to be changed me for the rest of my life. And they didn't know what the heck they was talking about. Oh, I hate the school system. I sure do.
They say a friend in Cuba just notified me that every single patient in that hospital that was on ventilators passed away tonight. I don't have words. So while these people are having concerts and people like Hassan over at their hotel, their 5-star luxury hotel of power, Cubans almost entirely are without power and people in hospitals are passing away. I cannot think of something that is more of a gross representation of these performative activists like Hassan and everyone involved in this entire efforts than this. I mean, they are sitting there in luxury hotels with the lights on, with armed security, by the way.
Y'all know there's a movie, and I don't think that it got like a good reception, but I loved it. There's a movie about people like Hassan. I think it's called I'm Not Okay. Is that the name of it? Movie. Not Okay. I think that's what it's called. I highly recommend that. It's about like these fake woke activists that's doing all of it for like social media attention and to get a following so they could just make money. Exposes the heck out of people like Hasan Piker. In fact, they had a character that I swear was Hasan, but maybe that's just me. I don't even know where you could even watch that movie. Oh, Hulu. But it was pretty accurate.
And they're enjoying concerts and all these benefits, while the people they're supposedly helping are not only sitting in blackouts, but are passing away because the medical equipment they need to keep people alive doesn't work. I literally cannot describe you how disturbing this is. But oh wait, Hasan has something to say about this. He says, don't worry, guys. Cubans like sitting in blackouts.
It's incredible. It's truly one of my favorite places officially. I totally understand why Will was saying that about Cuba. It's remarkable. The people's resilience is remarkable. There's like rolling blackouts that take place throughout the day, every day, all around the country, right? 11 million people. But today is a beautiful day out here. It's like 75 degrees, sunny. People are partying. People are partying in the streets. I don't know if it's like an island mindset. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but like, they're just chilling. Like,
I cannot think of something more disgusting than this. Hasan is basically saying the Cubans who are without power, they pretty much like this. Crazy. You know, they're celebrating out in the streets. They're partying.
I'm just imagining him saying that about whatever race I am, you know? Yeah, black people, they're used to this. Growing up in the projects, the lights went out all the time. No, I could say that. You can't say that. Yeah, that's like when I was talking to that, who's that woke YouTuber that's like trying to be like a fake Destiny or something like that. Well, I think he's like kissing Vosh behind. But that dude started saying all that racist stuff about me. Well, I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, oh, you probably don't know how to debate because you never had a father. You just assume that? Holy smokes. Damn. But that's like the type of stuff Hasan's doing. He's just assuming a bunch of crazy generalizations of a whole like race because he's pretty much racist.
They're having a,
in my personal opinion,
good time. They can handle it. They're resilient. It's just what they do. Meanwhile, no, nobody likes that. That should go without saying. Nobody likes to be without power. And people are being harmed as a result. But the only person or group of people who's not suffering is Hasan and his convoy, who are enjoying electricity, they're enjoying entertainment, and they're all doing it from the lap of luxury provided by the Cuban government, the regime that is causing all of this suffering, the reason they're there for these humanitarian efforts, and the reason why there's massive blackouts. And it's just absolutely insane that people take this guy seriously. But you know what? It could get worse. Not only is he being exposed for what he really is and what all these sorts of efforts really are at the end of the day, there's now some rumors that Cuba is preparing for a potential set of military action by the United States. And Hasan already is technically in some hot water because of his stay, right? If everything's lining up the way it looks, he might not be allowed to come back in a just world, you know? If they were actually trying to do anything about people violating these sanctions, he might have a hard time even coming back. But what if something happened and Hasan is still in Cuba? How is that going to fare for him? Do you think in a moment of crisis, a national crisis or military action or anything like that, do you think the locals or the government for that matter is going to have an easy time dealing with people like Hasan and his convoy? What's going to happen to them? Well, all I know is I wouldn't want to be them during times like that, or really times like now where there is clearly some tension. But this is, what else do you say, ladies and gentlemen? What else do you say about individuals like this. I mean, his image is so daunting and so pathetic. It made my computer even start lagging there for a second.
Yeah,
but yeah,
crazy.
that's going to do it for today's video. As always, feel free to share your
shout outs to Rev. Yeah, I think Hassan is a joke. A bad one. But tell me what you guys think down in the comment section and hit that hype button. Also, if you want to, just learn more about me, check out what I'm doing in my life, how I got to the point where I'm at, how I'm living. Check out my other channel that I just started. You can find it at a link on the homepage. More than likely, my last community post is where it's going to be at. Yeah, go there. Last community post.